Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be attempting to colour in a picture semi-realistically using my Touchfive bullet nib markers. Jumping straight in, I first did 2 practice spheres for the skin to see how the colours would go so I wouldn't be too overwhelmed. It's a lot of colours. For the spheres alone, I used about 13-ish colours, but on the actual picture I used a bit more than that. Just because skin in real life has a lot of different tones and shades and colours in it, and I wanted to, capture it somewhat. I'm not going to say who the character is, so if you know who he is, let me know down below in the comments. I'm interested to see who will actually guess it right. So I decided on a base skin colour palette of yellows and beige, and then my middle shading colours are more red and peach, with my deepest colours being warm browns and yellow browns. I felt like that was the best option for me to go for in terms of looking semi-realistic. I did try to do some grey backlight effects and it worked on the sphere, as you can see earlier on, but when I tried to do it on my picture it didn't really work. I got the idea to try and colour in semi-realistically with markers from my last video. I always draw semi-realistic anime, but when I colour in traditionally, I don't do it semi-realistically. I do it digitally, but not traditionally. And I thought, why not give it a go? But markers are already quite difficult for me to colour in with in the first place. So doing this challenge was, on top of that, extremely challenging. I think the hardest thing about trying to colour realistically with markers is that I can't get that airbrush effect. I know if you have Copic markers or Copic markers, you can buy an airbrush system, but I don't have that. And the trick with realism, you need to have a mixture of soft shadows and hard shadows. And normally objects are lit up by different coloured sources as well. So you need that smooth blending to make it believable. And I think that was the trickiest part of doing this picture. I could kind of get away with it with the skin because it's not so much of a large area, but the hair was very, very hard. But we'll get onto that in a minute. Again, when it came to doing the hair, I did a little test square beforehand. Now, this is what I was talking about. I wanted half of his head to be lit up by a warm source and the other side to be lit up by a cool source, because his hair is really, really dark, like a dark grey colour, and I didn't want to colour with just straight up grey because that's boring. So I had to figure out, how am I going to make these colours look interesting and realistic? And I think in total I decided to use about 7 colours. For the warm highlights, I used green greys and then I overlaid a light beige colour, and then similarly for the cool area on the left side, I overlaid a grey and a blue. But it was really difficult because the thing with hair, when you colour it realistically, you kind of work backwards. You start with the highlights and then you add in the darker shades. But hair overlaps, so you have to think about which strand is going here, which strand is going there, and it was insanely hard. I mean, I only went into great detail in a small patch because I just had no idea how to do this. Really, honestly, I was lost, and I just thought, I have to keep on going. I can't give up now. especially with the bullet nibs, because they don't taper off and it's very hard to get to a fine point. And you know, I just didn't know what colours to use. I was so lost, I was so out of my element because I'm not used to drawing realistic hair. I am used to drawing realistic skin, but hair is just another area for me. And the thing with markers is that you can't, with paint, you can do multiple layers, so I can always draw a strand over this patch of hair, but with markers you can't do that. So you have to be very, very careful, and as an artist I don't really plan. I'm sort of impulsive and I just go for it, and if things don't really turn out the way I want, I just sort of keep on going with it and refining it until it is the way I want it to be. So yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but the hair was kind of a random journey for me. And it was also the first time that I used the black marker because his hair is really dark and I really needed to get those extremely dark areas down. Yeah, like, you know, everything was just really tough about this. Drawing realistic hair, the actual tone of his hair, it's this weird dark grey, almost blue colour, having to make it look naturally lit up, you know, not using brush markers. It was just really hard, guys, but I did it for you. Now, I tried to make most of the realism, so to speak, come from the marker colouring and not from the colouring pencils. And I had a lot of fun doing the skin and the eyes. I think the eyes is what makes it pop. But the hair really needed colouring pencils. I didn't really have a pencil that matched his hair colour, so I had to use black. And because the Arteza pencils are very soft and I needed a very sharp point, I had to keep on sharpening my pencil every time I made a line. So the hair took me a very, very long time. Essentially, I just tapered off all the hair strands, and I also added in the really dark black areas under overlapping pieces of hair. Mate, I've used the Sakurai Jelly Roll pen, I've used the Uniball Signo white pen, but I just don't like them. And if anyone has a good white gel pen recommendation, hit me up in the comments, because I am still searching for that decent white gel pen that's not streaky, that's actually opaque, and that doesn't cost me an arm and a leg. So if you have one, let me know. I'm just going to show you a side-by-side comparison of the picture with and without colouring pencils to show you what a difference colouring pencils actually make. I think the picture has upgraded by so many levels just by adding colouring pencil. So if you do colour with markers and you don't currently use colouring pencil, you need to try it, because I feel like it really brings a piece to life. So I think that's it for this video. If you guessed the character and said Noctis from Final Fantasy, you would be correct. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you'd like to see next time. Thanks for sticking around and watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye!